I'm in Chantilly, Virginia, outside of the National Air and Space Museum's Udvar-Hazy Center. This is an extension to the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. This facility is way larger, and they have some really awesome things inside. Let's go check this out. So as you can tell, this is a massive building with its own watchtower. This is right by Dulles Airport. I just came here from Reagan Airport. So I'm gonna head inside. One of the main reasons I came here is because they allowed baggage. Unfortunately, my suitcase doesn't fit in the locker, so I have to lug this thing around with me for a couple hours. Alright, this place is officially amazing. It's the Blackbird and the Discovery in the background.
That's the Blackbird. That's what I'm talking about.
This is a Corsair that was used in the Pacific Theater, and by the end of the war, the pilots had an 11-to-1 kill ratio against the Japanese. That's a Curtis Kitty Hawk right there.
It's fun just to meet people.
I feel like such an idiot right now. That's interesting. That's a NASA Oblique wing research aircraft from the 70s that could do extremely tight turns. This is the Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird, the fastest plane of all time. This is the greatest achievement in Cold War aviation technology. This was used for reconnaissance. This thing went crazy speeds. This is the back of it. This is a replica of the 1908 Wright military flyer. The military hired the Wright brothers to try to make some military aircraft. This was the first one that they tried out at Fort Myer in Arlington. It didn't go so well. They crashed. Orville was flying. He got severely injured. The passenger died. But the next year, they were successful in creating the first military aircraft. And that's an original piece of the 1908 Wright flyer. Louis Blériot is famous for being the first pilot to cross the English Channel. This is not the plane he used, but he started manufacturing almost identical planes pretty soon after, and that is an original one. This is a French-made Caudron G4. It was used during World War I as a light reconnaissance bomber. This plane belonged to Robert Fowler. He was the first pilot to fly across the Isthmus of Panama in 1912. I don't think this was the plane they used. Now this is awesome. This is Captain Rickenbacker's uniform. During World War I, he had 26 confirmed victories. These are the medal and uniform of Edwin Parsons. It's a Curtiss N9H seaplane, one of the earliest seaplanes. It was used by the Navy. This is a statue of Billy Mitchell. He led a force of 1,500 planes at St. Mihiel, which during World War I, that was the largest air battle in world history at the time. And Billy Mitchell piloted this one many times. That's a German Halberstadt from World War I. They're good at ground attacks. The Sopwith F-1 Camel was the most successful World War I military aircraft. This plane was one of 5 used in a goodwill tour to Central and South America during the 20s. All this belonged to General Henry Hap Arnold, who was the chief of the Air Force from 1938 to 1946. That's his death. America's leading ace at the time, Richard Bong, yeah, that's my name. He was doing a test with this, but it didn't work because the right engine exploded in flight. This is a Cadet from World War II. It was a plane used by the Navy. This particular one was used for training. This is pretty cool. This is the first prototype for the Sikorsky XR-4C. It ended up being the world's first mass-produced helicopter. These are World War II relics. Bomber jackets. Wow, these are the plugs from the Little Boy, the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. And this was the uniform of Jimmy Doolittle. He is most well known for the Doolittle raids, the first air raid on the Japanese main islands. He would have worn this uniform after the Doolittle raids. He was commanding the 8th Air Force in Europe after that. This is John Northrup's Flying Wings. This design eventually turned into Blackbird. That's an original prototype from the 40s. This is the Black Widow. It was the first plane that could effectively fight and bomb during the night. The reason it was able to do that is because it was the first plane to have onboard radar. This was a Japanese fighter. It was called the Gecko. And this is the only one left in existence. It was used after 1943 for night reconnaissance. This was used for kamikaze. It said there'd be a pilot in there that would get dropped, and the pilot would guide it to kamikaze into an American ship. This is a Sarin, which was a Japanese seaplane, and it is also the only one left in existence. This was the only Japanese jet to fly during World War II. This was called the George by Americans because its Japanese name, I agree, is too difficult to say, but it was the most successful Japanese naval aircraft. This is a Thunderbolt. It was one of the most reliable and heavily armored American planes during World War II. Now this is a true piece of world history. That is the Enola Gay. It's a Boeing B-29 Super Fortress. This is the aircraft that dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. The bomb dropped from that very hatch, ended up killing 146,000 people, mostly civilians. So the dropping of the atomic bomb is obviously still very controversial. A lot of people don't want the Enola Gay in this museum because of what it caused. And, you know, it's something I think about a lot. I'm not sure about the atomic bomb. You know, there's two sides to it. You know, I'm thinking if I'm Truman, you know, they want me to sign off to bomb Hiroshima, you know, it's civilians, not the military. They're innocent civilians. But then again, you have to measure, the war would have to continue on. More American soldiers would have to keep dying, and there's already so much, and you could just try to end it now, because the Japanese did not relent. So, still, that's really just amazing that plane that killed so many people. And then, you know, it also the precedent it sets. Do we keep using atomic weapons? Luckily, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a few days later, the only two so far, and hopefully ever. This is the Luftwaffe's Yoo-Hoo. It was used for night reconnaissance. It's one of the only a few left in the world. I don't know where the main part of the plane is, though. That's just the engines. This thing is a piece of this plane used by the Nazis. This is the Nazis' FW-190.
Really first operational jet airplane of World War II.
This is the fastest piston engine airplane ever built. And it looks like they throw their extra stuff back here. Only at the Smithsonian do you have a back corner exhibit of all sorts of stuff that belonged to Charles Lindbergh. Got his gloves, some of his flying goggles. And that's Anne Morrow Lindbergh's helmet. She's pretty interesting too. Charles and Anne Morrow Lindbergh carried that rifle in their Lockheed Sirius. That is Lindbergh's flight suit from 1933. He did a survey. This is a flight suit worn by Amelia Earhart. Those are the last pair of scissors to cut Amelia Earhart's hair. That's a lot of planes. This is the Junkers Jewess, one of the most successful European commercial airliners ever. This was the world's smallest piloted biplane until the 1980s. This is a Stratoliner. It's an early commercial airplane. The first one was made in 1938. The little BG here was the first amateur-made airplane that reached from Oregon to DC. It was a victory for amateur plane builders. Still not a good idea. That's a massive Air France plane. This Air France plane is massive. You usually don't see a whole lot of commercial airplanes in museums because they take up so much space. That is a Boeing Dash 80 from the 50s. This plane, the Super Constellation, was the epitome of luxury air travel in the 50s. After Lindbergh's transatlantic flight in 1927, he became an instant celebrity, and this is full of Charles Lindbergh merch from the 20s and 30s. In 1969, Darrell Greenemeyer in this plane broke the 30-year speed record for the piston engine aircraft. That is a uniform of Roscoe Turner. He was a very famous air race pilot in the early days of aviation racing. That's a bunch of his trophies. This is a Soviet air racer from the 80s. Wonder how we got a hold of this. This is a Curtiss JN-4D, better known as a Jenny. They were early barnstormer planes. This one's from 1918. This is a very famous plane. This is the most recognized Shrike Commander in aviation history. It was flown by Bob Hoover, who broke a lot of speed records. There's a Japanese balloon bomb. A couple of them actually got to U.S. soil. Oregon got bombed by the Japanese. That's some fabric from the Hindenburg, and that's a ladder from it. Alan Eustace used this suit to do the longest free fall ever. This is the bottom of a Goodyear Blimp. I almost didn't come back to this corner, but I'm so glad I did. This plane, the Stars and Stripes, was used on the first and second Byrd Antarctic expeditions. Wow. They used this plane for reconnaissance and to scope out the landscape. And this plane was also covered in snow for 3 years. This helicopter, the Spirit of Texas, was the first to fly all the way around the world. And it was piloted by none other than bazillionaire and third-party candidate Ross Perot. This is a Night Stalker uniform from the 160th Special Operations Regiment. Here is a bunch of helicopters. That's a Giro glider. I've never seen one of these. Probably because they didn't work so well. And here's some gliders. Here's some more Lindbergh stuff. These are items from their 1931-1933 exploratory flights. And that's Admiral Lindbergh's flying gloves, and those are signed by Amelia Earhart. Along with having a lot of real planes, they have a lot of model planes as well. Okay, this place is one of the best museums I've ever been to. The Smithsonian is just so good. So despite having to carry my backpack and my suitcase around with me for the past 5 hours, this is so much fun. But anyways, if you like this video, there is a second part where I go to the space section and look at the airplanes from above. And I have other videos like museums and that sort of thing. If you're into that, please check out my videos. And thanks for watching.